With the NFL draft right around the corner, we have come to the end of the line, and I'm going to wrap up my final position rankings for the 2025 NFL draft with the edge rusher class. I'm going to talk about my top 15 in this video. Stick around to the end because you know we're going to be talking about some of the honorable mentions, and it's a pretty thick class, so I might end up talking about a lot of these guys. But let's go ahead, get into this sucker. We're going to be talking about 11 through 15 here. Again, the overlays take a lot of work, so I saved the overlays for the top 10. But let's start with 15. JT Tuimoloau out of Ohio State, coming in at 6'4", 265 pounds. And he has an interesting story, right? This is a dude that popped off in 2022 where he had just a phenomenal game against Penn State. And I sure enough thought this guy was going to be a top 10 player in the 2023 NFL draft or 2024 NFL draft. Ended up not happening. It was kind of a letdown of a year. It was a fine year. Wasn't a first round year in my opinion. 2024 comes around, sticks around, wins the championship with the Buckeyes, made first team all Big Ten. And I don't think he ever got to that top 10 first round type of hype at all. But he's a good prospect with a nice body, nice frame, just kind of built different. He's big, he's long, he's powerful, explosive, good burst, but also solid balance and able to set the edge, play the run pretty well, plays with good leverage, heavy hands, good anchor, and big motor. However, his pass rush arsenal, he's still whipping that sucker together. It's a work in progress, but we have seen him develop each and every year. So that's promising. That's promising in my opinion. Could be a bit better as a block shedder. Maybe could use a little bit, could do a better job of using arm extension to find and locate ball carriers, but he's a good prospect. And then at number 4, it's Jordan Burch out of Oregon, coming in at 6'4", 282 pounds. And another dude that actually transferred, he was formerly a 5-star recruit out of the 2020 recruiting class, goes to South Carolina, has a couple of good years, honestly, and then decides to move to Oregon in 2023, where he was a full-time starter. He was probably a fringe day 2 pick based on his 2023 tape, returns for 2024, and had a really good year. Was a third team all Big Ten. A lot of that had to do because he missed some time with an ankle and meniscus injury. But he was really good this past season. Great frame, good play speed at that size. The run defense is basically a big draw to his game, his ability to play the run. And for the most part, a very versatile frame. Kind of built like a 5-tech, one of those 3-4 ends, if you will. The play strength is good. The motor is good. I don't think he has he's got good burst at his size, but I think it's fine burst if you're going to play him out on the edge. I don't have a ton of faith in it, I suppose, but he's a good prospect and a bit of a tweener, so to speak. Speaking of tweeners, golly, dude, David Walker coming in at number 13 for me out of Central Arkansas. He's 6'1", so really short, and he is 267 pounds. Former 0-star recruit out of the 2019 class, so he is up there in age. He is 25, but I can't help it. I still love him. He starts his career at Southern Arkansas, plays there for about 3 years before he transfers to Central Arkansas, so he's a big Arkansas man, and ends up being a first-team all-conference player. He was the defensive player of the year, and basically it's just rinse and repeat. Does it again in 2023. And was like, okay, I'm going to stick around. Could have came out in last year's draft. Stuck around. Instead of transferring, thought he was going to transfer, go to a Power 4 program. Stays put at Central Arkansas and does it for a 3rd year in a row. So probably the best Central Arkansas player of all time at this point. Because he just dominated lower competition. Lower competition. But he plays low at that 6'1" height. He plays fast. If you didn't know who he was, didn't watch tape on him, and you got to the Senior Bowl, you now know exactly who he is. And he plays extremely fast, good bend, good motor. I kind of like him in a wide 9 as a designated pass rusher, but he's got the play strength. Like, he can set the edge. He's gritty. He can do that. It's just he has less than ideal length. I will say that playing well at the Senior Bowl kind of eased some concerns with, okay, well, he just dominated FCS competition. It alleviated some of my concerns, but at the end of the day, he is a grown man taking on youngsters. So that's kind of a thing. I would like to see maybe a better pass rush game plan, but he made some strides. And all in all, he's one of my favorite prospects in this class. It's just a shame that he's kind of an old head. At number 12, it's Oluwafemi Oladejo out of UCLA. 6'3", 261 pounds. I think he's got like 7% body fat, which is just ludicrous. He's a former 3-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class where he played tight end and defensive end. When he goes to California, he becomes a linebacker, off-ball linebacker. Had one start in 2021. 2022, he started 10 games at linebacker, decided to transfer to UCLA where he was still playing linebacker, had 5 starts at linebacker for the Bruins. And this past season, he started the first 2 games at linebacker before they were like, hey, go wreak havoc on the edge. We got Medrano, we got Schwessiner. I think we might be all right at off-ball linebacker. You go wreak havoc. And he looked good. Didn't watch his tape till after the Senior Bowl. He was one of those cats that I was very eager to see at the Senior Bowl because I was like, oh, I don't really know much about this dude. He ends up getting a Senior Bowl invite. And I remember the first day, I kept confusing him for Donovan Ezeraku. They both had the gold helmets. And I was like, look at that, Ezeraku with another win. Wait, that's not Ezeraku. Because I think one was number 5, one was number 6. So it was very similar. Oladejo probably did the most for his stock at the Senior Bowl. Going from a relative unknown for me to a mid-day 2 prospect. So what do you got? An athletic frame, less than 10% body fat. He plays violent. He's got a nasty get off, good explosiveness. He wreaks chaos as a run defender. He's able to flow with the action. He knows how to maneuver through traffic or navigate traffic. He can stack and shed pretty darn well, pretty quickly. So we're talking about someone that can play 3 downs right off the bat. It's just not playing edge rusher for basically his whole collegiate career. He's a bit raw. He's a ball of clay. His pass rush toolbox isn't put together. He can play with high pads here and there. If you're gonna play on the edge, might need to do a better job of setting the edge or playing with some gap discipline. But he's a high motor player. There was nothing but praise at the Senior Bowl about him. They loved how coachable he was. I got him here at number 12. And then at number 11, a guy I really wish made my top 10. Really do. It's Braden Swinson out of LSU. He's 6'4", 255 pounds. He had like a 20-some% pass rush win rate this past year. Originally from Oregon, or played it at Oregon. He's a 3-star recruit. And he had a moment in his sophomore year where it looked like, there might be a baller here against Ohio State. Unfortunately, he tore his MCL in that game. Finished the game, by the way, but he had I think a sack and a forced fumble in that game. He ended up actually only missing 3 games that year, where he had a minor scope surgery on the knee, but doesn't really get back into the starting lineup. Right? It's like, whoa, he just had this massive breakout year. Why isn't he getting utilized more? He ends up transferring to LSU, where he didn't make a start, but he was used in the rotation a ton. Became the full-time starter this past season, second team All-SEC. I will note he was suspended for the first half of the Florida game, him and his teammate Sage Ryan, who I think Ryan went back to school, but because they were late at checking in. What we're dealing with, I think he's got some flexibility to him. He's got some good length, but he's not like the most explosive or the bendiest pass rusher. He's got good hand usage. He being around some high-profile programs for a bit, he's been able to develop his pass rush approach and his technique. He's shown that he can be a spot dropper in coverage, and he plays the run really well. He really does. It's just he's never been the guy until this past season, where it's his final year. He has to be the guy, or it's never going to pop off for him. And he was. He might not be the most high-end athlete, but he's a fun athlete to watch. But let's go ahead, get into this top 10. Of course, starting at number 10, it's Princely Umamielen out of Ole Miss. He's 6'4", 264 pounds, currently 49th on my big board, which means my top 10 pass rushers are all inside the top 50. It's a kind of nutty class. I'm going to be talking about a lot of these guys when we get to the honorable mentions. But he's a former 4-star recruit from the 2020 class. His brother, I think he just transferred, but his brother, Prince Will, played at Nebraska. I don't know where he is at now, but that's a question for next year's draft class. Regardless, he was a reserve for the first couple of years at the University of Florida. Then he became a full-time starter those next 2 years. Ended up being a second team All-SEC in 2023. Ends up transferring to Ole Miss. Started 6 games. He played in almost all of them. I think he missed one game with a foot injury that bothered him all year. But the Ole Miss defensive line was so stacked that these guys were rotating in and out. So you'd have different guys start the game but come in later on the drive. He played a lot of snaps, obviously. 55 pressures, 11 sacks, had a phenomenal year. He was first team All-SEC. And he's got really good length with 34.5-inch arms. I think he's got adequate power and plays with enough physicality where he plays the run game pretty darn well. He does. I don't think he's got like the best first step, but it's solid. But he does typically struggle to convert speed into power. This is the thing. I don't really think he's got any elite traits. Doesn't have elite bend, not the bendiest guy. Doesn't have elite get off, but I mean, his explosive numbers were really good at the combine. So there might be a guy there, but as a technician, he is well put together. The 23.4% pass rush win rate, that is the highest in my top 10. Matter of fact, that's the highest in my top 19. He had a phenomenal year. He was good. He plays with active hands, big motor. It's just not like an elite traits guy, but against the run, like I said, he can do an adequate job setting the edge. It's that pursuit speed, that closing speed that allows him to make plays on the backside. And I mean, he's athletic and long enough where it's like, okay, we could spot drop this guy occasionally. Reminds me a bit of Arnold Ebiketie. Ebiketie coming out wasn't like the bendiest pass rusher. And I would say Umamielen has a better or a more diverse toolbox of pass rush moves. But they both have relatively good counters and secondary moves to build upon that. Like Ebiketie coming out, he had probably like 4 or 5 moves that kind of like you had the move and then it just kind of branched out. He had a ton of different answers if his initial pass rush was stonewalled. And Umamielen's kind of built in the same way. At number 9 is Landon Jackson out of Arkansas. He's 6'6", 266 pounds, currently 45th on my big board. Former 4-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class. Let's talk about the big hiccup here. He does, on a side note, if you go back to his high school, he is, I think, the current sack leader there with 45 sacks. And it's impressive because he suffered multiple season-ending injuries during his high school career. One was an ankle injury. The other was a torn ACL. And he might have an injury red flag here. I don't know how deep you want to go into it, but when he goes to LSU, he ends up tearing his ACL again and ended up transferring. So we're talking about 2 ACL tears and a season-ending ankle injury within, like, I think that would have been within 4 to 5 years, 3 season-ending injuries. It's a big red flag. However, he goes to Arkansas, starts 7 games, 2022, starts 12 games in 2023, was a first team All SEC. And then this past season, started 12 games, made second team All SEC. He did opt out of the bowl, but to be fair, his final game, he was carted off the field with a neck injury. Doesn't really correlate with the legs, right? The ACL and the ankle, but still it's something to note. I don't think it's going to weigh a lot on his draft stock, but I just wanted to note it. He is long. He is strong. He is freaky. I mean, at 6'6", almost 34-inch arms. I get why a lot of people liked him, and I think he stepped up a ton this year. I remember the 2023 tape. I was going through it, and I was like, he has like one good game against Alabama, and people hyping the hell out of this guy. Way more complete this season in terms of pressure or racking up some pressures on the game-to-game basis. Good athlete at that size. You could tell by the broad numbers. 4.68 is pretty darn good for an edge player, especially at 6'6", 266. And he has slowly developed a solid toolbox of pass rush moves. I mean, it helps that he's long. It helps that he's explosive. It helps that he's a long strider. He can cover a lot of ground in a little bit of time. It's just they're not all fully developed or polished yet. So I like that he's got a lot of creativity as a pass rusher, but I do want to see more effectiveness from his pass rush moves. Also was a team captain there at Arkansas. At 6'6", you're going to struggle with leverage. It's something that shows up particularly in the run game, but I'm not at all that worried about it. He was raved about at the Senior Bowl just for his work ethic and character. A guy that I'm on board for. I'm excited. I think he's relatively versatile. Not like you're going to kick him into like 3 tech, but I think he could be not necessarily a 3-4 end, but if you want to line him up right on top of the tackle, I think you could. I think you could go Y9 with him. I think he's got that straight line speed. So there is some versatility with him. He reminds me a bit of Emmanuel Ogbah. Another Dolphins great, fins up, baby, fins up. Before we talk more prospects, got to give a shout out to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. If you download the app and sign up using promo code BROSHMO, they will match your first deposit up to $1,000 dues. It's the best place to play weekly best ball, or my favorite, higher or lower on player stats. Baseball season's back. So, hey, you want to get on that action, or maybe basketball? Well, they do all kinds of sports, maybe esports if you follow that. But it's a fun way to play. And if you do sign up, don't forget, it's promo code BROSHMO. But as always, please play responsibly and play within your means. At number 8, it's Nick Gordon at Texas A&M. He's 6'3", 257 pounds. Currently 36 on my big board. Broke my heart that he's this low for me, because I had him coming into this year as the top edge rusher in this class. That's right. I think it was him 1A, and then 1B was James Pierce, who we'll get to later. And Gordon, I guess let's first get into some of the background, and I'll kind of fill in the gaps as we go. So he was a former 4-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class, also played basketball in high school, played in all 14 games at Purdue his freshman year, became the full-time starter in 2023, where he made second team All Big Ten. He was around 270, 265, 270, and then he goes to Texas A&M, where he gets up to 284, and he's playing a very different type of role, playing a different just in a different scheme, new role, and I thought he did a solid job. He ended up making first team all SEC. And then he goes to the combine, he cuts weight, he gets down to 257. And I think he said he wants to be around 260, 265. That's probably the best weight for him to play at when it comes to the NFL. But he's got a thick build. He's got a thick lower body, and he moves pretty darn well. He moved well at 284. He's got the quicks. You might not necessarily see it in, which, I mean, he didn't even work out, but even his on the field drill stuff wasn't necessarily the fastest guy, but he can cover a lot of ground really quickly. He plays low, plays with violent hands, and I like the suddenness. I like the get off. He's very persistent in pursuit. He can make backside plays. He'll chase you out to the sideline. He's just got a great motor. However, he does lack ideal length with 33.25-inch arms. Isn't the most bendiest guy. He wasn't at 284. He wasn't at 270. He's probably still not at 257. Does play with a bit of a false step, so he's like loading up on his back foot and taking an unnecessary step when he's anticipating the snap. You just want to load on your front foot and power off of that. It's like you're a track athlete. That's what you do. You load on the front and power off it. Could be more physical in the run game. I don't think he attacks. And to be fair, I think that he did a much better job of that in A&M's scheme there under Elko. But it does feel like he's more physical as a pass rusher than he is as a run defender. People are going to go crazy about the comp. They're either going to like it or hate it, not love it. I have Trey Hendrickson, again, not the most toolsy player, but was well put together when it came to his arsenal as a pass rusher, a real big motor player. That's kind of how I feel about Scorton. And again, caveat, I was very high on Scorton coming into the year. At number 7, it's Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. He's 6'2", 248 pounds, currently 33rd on my big board. A former 3-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class. He also played wide receiver, tight end, and defensive end in high school. Participated in track and field in the shot put, the discus, the long jump, and the triple jump. Comes to Boston College. Starts as a rotation player. Doesn't last long. He ends up being a second team All-ACC in 2022 and was a full-time starter from there on out. He was a first team All-ACC this past season. And he is just a very smooth, very sudden. I don't think he's that explosive. And I feel like I'm vindicated in that with his explosive scores, but his agility is absolutely nuts. Very sudden, very smooth as a pass rusher, very active hands, long arms, 34.5 inches. Never expect that from a 6'2" player. I just don't. And here it is. So it's like, okay, you're on the shorter side, but golly, you're long as hell. And he does a good job navigating traffic in the run game. He might not have the power to stack and shed and take on blockers, but he knows how to get to ball carriers. So I'm not too worried about him in that aspect. I will say, I think I like him in a wide 9, where he's a little more out in space. But again, this is more of an ideal role. I like him better out in space where he's not necessarily taking on blockers head on. And that's more so in the run game. But if you're going to have him get after it as a pass rusher, you could probably creep him in closer to the line of scrimmage, or at least to the ball. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the senior and Shrine Bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down because I will hunt you down. I will find you and I'll make sure you get your money's worth.
Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel.
At number 6, it's Mikael Williams out of Georgia. He's 6'5", 267 pounds, currently 28th on my big board. Former 5-star recruit out of the 2022 recruiting class. Had 2 starts his freshman year at Georgia, made the SEC all-freshman team. And then in 2023, got 10 starts, was a full-time starter, was second team all-SEC, but he was still, you looked at the tape and he was more potential than production. He only had an 8% true pass rush win rate back in 2023. And to be fair, it did get better this past season for him, but not much. And that's because he was hampered by a high ankle sprain that caused him to miss what? 2 games? 3? Yeah, 2 games. And then he just played with it. That's an injury that's just not necessarily going to get better with time if you keep playing on it, unfortunately. And it takes away from your explosiveness, which, if you didn't know, he's pretty darn explosive at that size. Good length with close to 34.5-inch arms. Really good length. Great build. Plays low, plays violent, plays the run exceptionally well. Very disciplined run defender, and you have to be when you're at Georgia. You just do. Some people were disappointed by the 4.77 40 time. I thought it was fine enough. Sure, people thought he was going to test out closer to Shamar Stewart. Kind of is what it is. It's fine enough time. Does need a better plan when rushing the passer. I would like to see a bit more counters and secondary moves. He's still developing that. He can occasionally play a little bit high, more so when he's moving laterally, so with the run. And just when it comes to college, the production never caught up to his potential. And it reminds me a bit of Gregory Rousseau, who felt like more tools than production coming out of Miami. Still love the dude. And now it's all clicking for him. I don't know. I can't remember if I hope he's already got paid, because if not, he's going to be expensive as hell. I imagine the Bills been paying a lot of their players this offseason. But that would be my comp. At number 5, it's Shamar Stewart, who I just mentioned, coming out of Texas A&M. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. Currently 27th on my big board, so 1 spot higher than Williams. Former 5-star recruit out of the 2022 recruiting class. Did have a nagging shoulder and knee injuries that cost him much of his junior year in high school. Also played basketball. Showed up in Texas A&M. Immediately got 6 starts. Was a SEC all freshman. And then in 2023, he only got 1 start, but he was a big part of the rotation. 2024, 12 starts, 3rd team all SEC. We knew he was a freak. A lot of people aren't satisfied with the production. 39 pressures. They only look at 2 sacks. I think it was a sack and a half, actually. But I go with PFF stats, and they don't count half sacks. But the pressure rate's solid, 12.4%. That's fine. That's fine. I don't think people like that. He gets talked about sometimes as a top 10 player, but it's because he's an insane toolsy athlete. That's why Clowney's the comp. That's why he's the comp. Like Clowney, way more productive coming out of college. So once he got to the NFL. And it wasn't until like the last few years where it's like, okay, there it is. There's all that potential finally producing hella well. Stewart, that's kind of where he's at right now. He's more potential than production. It's insane at his size that he ran a 4.59 40. He jumped 40 inches in the vert. He had a broad jump of 131 inches, all higher percentile numbers, close to 34.5-inch arms. He's just long, rare athleticism for that size. Very explosive first step. Big motor, was used in a very much versatile way. At Texas A&M, there are some reps where he would even play at nose tackle, typically during passing sets, passing situations, and sometimes with just like a 3-man rush, but still, nonetheless, impressive. His production would be a hell of a lot better if he could finish. 23.5% missed tackle rate. He needs to finish in the freaking backfield. He just does. The pass rush game plan is a work in progress. And occasionally he can be displaced by down blocks. He's effectively neutralized by double teams. But again, we're talking about a dude where the tools are the prospect. And if you're drafting him, you have confidence that you can develop those tools. At number 4, it's Jalon Walker out of Georgia. He's 6'1", 243 pounds, currently 18th on my big board. Bit of an enigma as a prospect, and we'll get into it. But he's a former 5-star recruit. All these guys are freaking former 5-stars. Out of the 2022 recruiting class, also participating in track and field. Played in all 15 games as a reserve and special teamer. Had a block punt versus Kent State as a freshman. And then he was basically a backup and a special teamer, but he had about 250 some snaps in 2023 and was a guy that I evaluated during the summer because his name popped up a ton. And it was he was full on tweener, didn't really know what he was going to be because, okay, they used him a bit as a spot dropper in coverage, and he's a good athlete, so he could keep up with running backs and tight ends for the most part, but his anticipated coverage is kind of blah. Doesn't have a ideal size or even length to play edge full time. But he was a chess piece. He was a chess piece, someone they moved all around. And this past year, ended up getting a few starts there at edge with Mikael Williams out. But for the most part, they were still using him all around. They just were. Ended up being a second team all SEC, so you love to see it. Listen, his pass rush win rate's pretty darn good. Well, all things considered, a little bit of that's inflated when he comes in as an extra blitzer. But 17.1%, that's pretty solid rate for a guy that didn't play edge full time. Just didn't. Some people like Todd McShay brings up, hey, he's kind of in the Abdul Carter. Like, not much separates him and Abdul Carter outside of Carter has a full year on the edge where he got acclimated to the position. Walker doesn't have that. I mean, sure, Carter, bigger player, better length, but not by a ton. It's not that big of a difference. So I get that concept. However, I guess I want to start with the negatives. Undersized, lacks ideal length. Very raw as a pass rusher. Needs more reps. Just no real feel as a pass rusher. Rather than playing half the man, he'll play the full man. And if you want to talk about, oh, well, maybe he's more off ball. No, he doesn't have the anticipation or the prowess in coverage for that. I think he's an edge entering the league, and you're just going to have to develop him. The good thing is he's built low, he plays low, he's twitched up as hell. Very active with his hands. His hands hit really hard, really violent, really good speed to power. And he's been a very consistent finisher. Very consistent. So, yeah, there's a lot of promise here. I ended up going with Hassan Reddick. And hopefully you learn from the Cardinals' mistake and just play him right off the bat as a true edge rusher. At number 3, it's James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee, 6'5", 248 pounds. He is just one spot higher on my big board than Jalon Walker. Let's go through the background. I'll address the character concern. So he's a former 5-star recruit. There it is again, 5-star recruit. Out of the 2022 recruiting class, was a reserve his freshman season. Then with 3 starts, made first team all SEC, saw the field a ton. Was a full-time starter for the most part this past season, was once again first team all SEC. However, character concerns. This is why he's more talked about at the back end of the first, maybe early second, rather than he should be a top 10 pick. That's where I'm at with him. Character concerns. He's a douche. And you might be like, well, that doesn't seem all that bad. Well, we got a laundry list. Let's talk about it real quick. So He was arrested in December for disobeying officers' orders, and that was after being pulled over for reckless driving and I think driving with a suspended license. Charges ended up being dropped, but there are also claims that he was difficult to coach at Tennessee. There are former high school teammates and classmates that just hated being around the guy. So we're talking not just douche, but potentially super douche. Not ideal. But as a prospect, he ain't half bad. Probably the most explosive player in this class. Ran a 4.47 40. Utterly ridiculous. Great closing speed. Can pursue. He will track you down. Utterly dominant in one-on-one reps. His true pass rush win rate, which if you don't know what a true pass rush win rate, it just takes out any part of the run game that would influence the passing game. So play action, RPOs, stuff like that. So the truest form of did you beat your guy? And 29.5%. That's hella good. That's just hella good. The play strength and the run defense were much better this year. Am I saying he was fantastic at that? No, but I think he was solid. He continues to add more to his arsenal as a pass rusher. This guy was trending in the right direction. Does need to be a better finisher in the backfield. He left a lot of negative plays on the field, and I say that I say that as like, hey, you could have created that negative play. Instead, it ended up not being a negative play. You got to be a better tackler once you get to the backfield. Also, maybe shedding blocks in the run game could be a bit inconsistent. But I like him a lot. Brian Burns, that's been my comp from like day one in the summer. I like him a lot. I hope the douche thing is a little exaggerated. And then at number 2, it's Mike Green out of Marshall. He's 6'3", 251 pounds. Currently 8th on my big board. We kind of have to start with the character concerns with this one. So he's a former 3-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class. He played linebacker and tight end in high school. He also wrestled in high school and finished 2nd in the state championship his sophomore year, 3rd his junior year. It was also revealed that there was an incident of, and they call it sexual assault. It was reported that it was stalking. This was reported by the Virginia Pilot. I'm going to reference them a ton because we got another accusation to get to. But that was eventually closed. It was dealt with the school. It was dealt within the school. Wasn't serious enough to get police involved or for charges to be brought. Again, it was stalking, and I could only fill in the blanks. Again, I don't have the complete context. That might be some kid that was caught up in his feels. Okay, is what it is. He goes to Virginia. There's a no-nonsense clause with his agreement with Virginia. So, like, hey, you get in trouble, you're gone, man. You're suspended, you're done. So he played in 6 games as a reserve, and then in 2022, he would leave the team at the time for unrevealed reasons, entered the transfer portal at the end of the regular season. This is where it came out that he was going to be suspended by Virginia for another sexual assault accusation. However, this one was anonymous. No charges were ever brought. He was never questioned about it. Virginia was just like, hey, some anonymous source said this. We have a no-nonsense clause. We're going to suspend you. And he was like, then I'm just going to transfer. That's not fair to me. Again, I don't have a lot of context on this. It was never reported. No case was open. No charges were brought. He was very open about it at the combine. It's going to come down to how well he interviewed. So in my shoes, I can only evaluate him as the prospect because the character stuff is a big question. I don't have enough answers for you. I don't have enough answers about it. I don't know if it's a big nothing burger or if it's get this guy off my board. I just don't. So he goes to Marshall, had only one start, but he was played as a significant rotation player in 2023. In 2024, started all 13 games and utterly phenomenal. 17 sacks, 63 pressures, win rate of 21%. Ended up making, he was the Sun Belt's player of the year. He's twitched up, man. He's a twitched up, bendy athlete with good play strength. No kidding, violent hands, former wrestler. He can grapple with the best of them, but he's got a nasty speed to power. You could just go watch. The Senior Bowl practices where he just put poor Josh Connerly Jr. on his tush. It was everywhere on the X. On top of that, which this again, now I'm all kinds of confused. Lots of praise for his character, his work ethic, just who he is, from not just Marshall coaches, which that would make sense to me, but also some of his coaches at Virginia. I don't know, guys. I just don't know. I just don't. So let's get to some of the negatives that aren't character involved. Lacks ideal length, sub 33-inch arms, doesn't hit that threshold. Also small hands. His frame is pretty much maxed out because this dude's jacked to the gill. So 251, I can't see him getting bigger. If he does, probably means he's getting fat. Also, should have caused a bit more negative plays in the backfield. I mean, this is something we've talked about with some of the other prospects. 14.9% missed tackle rate. It was better than it was in years past. I will say that. And I mean, that missed tackle rate's not terrible. It's not. So it's something he improved upon. Like, you love to see it. I ended up going with Alex Highsmith. They were very similar size, height, length comps. Don't necessarily think that means, okay, so he's a high-end edge 2 in the NFL. And to be fair, you take a high-end edge 2 in the top 10, you do it. But I do think maybe the ceiling could be a bit higher. And then at number 1, of course it is. It's Abdul Kata out of Penn State. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. Number 1 on my overall big board. Egg on my face. I had him as a 3rd round grade coming into the year because I was like, I want to see him play edge full time. First, because there was some stuff when he was an off-ball linebacker that makes me think it might be a bit more steep of a learning curve. And to be fair, the first few games were that way for him. And then he just tore it up and it all clicked for him. And now, ha ha, hee hee, I suck. I get it. Regardless, I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I mean, I said there was going to be a steep learning curve. I didn't know it was going to take like 4 games for him to figure it out. I'm sorry. I'm human. Former 4-star recruit from the 2022 recruiting class. Played basketball and participated in track and field. Also volunteered with the Dagsboro Boys and Girls Club. Love to see it. He played in all 13 games with 6 starts at off-ball linebacker for Penn State, 2nd team All Big Ten. He started all 13 games at linebacker, 1st team All Big Ten back in 2023. This year, made the transition and was a 1st team All Big Ten at edge. Started all 16 games, played through a shoulder injury. At the combine, they found a stress fracture in his right foot, but when it was discovered, they didn't know if it would need surgery or not. Doesn't seem like it will. So big nothing burger, worth bringing it up. Also, there's an assault charge. Not the assault we just got done talking about, but assault in a fight-in type of way. Where do I have that here? I got it somewhere, right? Oh, here it is. He was charged with simple assault and harassment with a tow truck driver. So, got in a little fight. I think he ended up like picking the dude up and slamming him on the grass. He made sure to aim for the grass section between the curb and the sidewalk. So, hey, he can be considerate too. But since then, I mean, he's come out saying, man, I'm stupid. He had to go through a whole anger management course by the courts to get it dropped. So again, thing in the past, had really no prior stuff. Elite athleticism. Wish he got to test out at the combine, found out he had the stress fracture, so he didn't even get weighed or measured. We didn't get those numbers till his pro day. But the dude is nuts. It's reported by Bruce Feldman's Freaks List, which he does a great job with his Freaks List. Typically, his numbers are pretty on point. He recorded a 4.4840 yard dash. He had a 2:35, or excuse me, a 4.35 second short shuttle, which that would rank. That would be pretty. That would be in the median when it comes to the agility drills for edge players, and then 127 in the broad, which would be in the upper percentile. So yeah, he's kind of a freak athlete. A strong leg drive, great close, first step, good closing speed. Pumps his feet through contact. I don't hate it. I love it. Very physical. Doesn't mind putting his nose in the action. A lot more put together than I expected he would be as an edge player. Granted, this is his lone year as a starter on the edge, but it was exceptionally promising. Run defense is still a work in progress, but we're being honest. If you're going high, if you're going in the first round in the NFL draft, it's because of what you can do as a pass rusher. Abdul Carter, I know it's a lazy comp, Micah Parsons, but come on, it just writes itself. Former linebacker, turned to full-time edge, elite level athlete. Too easy. Well, let's talk about some of the guys that just missed out on the list. At number 16 was Kyle Kennard for me. A lot of people really like him. I think he's a fine prospect. I think there's times where he plays a little bit high. I think he could find a little variation in some of his pass rush moves, but he's a good prospect, good play strength, good first step. Jack Sawyer missed the list. Part of me just feels like he's better Sam Hubbard. And to be fair, if you're the Bengals, you would have loved better Sam Hubbard. He had a phenomenal year. I'd much rather go with the guy with great production than insane tools. Well, that's not true. With great production and high-end tools. You got insane tools. That might be worth betting on. Shamar Stewart. So, like, for me, Jack Sawyer's a day 2 pick. He's a day 2 pick. Jared Ivey did test out well. Actually tested out really poorly. I think he's a 3-4 end. But he had a really good year this past season where he had 38 pressures, 8 sacks, 14.9% missed tackle rate. Tyler Barron. I don't know why the general draft community just isn't high on this cat. 46 pressures, 10 sacks, 19% pass rush win rate. I get it. It's not like he does anything elite, but I think he's a really solid player. Josiah Stewart. Dude, if he wasn't so, like, if he didn't lack length, if he wasn't so short, if he just wasn't undersized, he would probably be higher for me. He's a really good pass rusher, but I fear he's a DPR. That's where I'm at with him. Ashton Jalote, I feel like I'm never going to get that name right, is what it is. But another guy that suffers from really bad arm length, sub 32 inches. Tested out way better than I anticipated. That's the thing, man. I saw the arm length and I was like, okay, well, he's like an above average athlete, though. Oh, man, he tested out really good. I mean, the production's there for him. He's a guy worth betting on. There's some tradesy players, too, like Tyron Ingram Dawkins, who's a bit of a tweener, but tested out really well. Very developed as a run defender. Savion Jones out of LSU, who kind of had a breakout year. Versatile build at 6'5", 283. Elijah Roberts, he's basically a 3-4 end, but tested out really well at, 292? But there's other guys that I really like Cameron Ruckert out of North Carolina. If he didn't get hurt, I felt like he would have been higher on this list. But another guy with sub-ideal height and length. Fidel Diggs, I think he's a very ideal DPR type of player. Dude just flies. Out of Syracuse, ran a 4.57 40. And even at the bat, like a lot of people like Antoine Powell Ryland. He's not my cup of tea. I don't think he's that good of a run defender. What can I say? A lot of people like Quade Robinson, who just doesn't have a lot of, like, very small sample size, but very good traits, exceptionally raw. I don't typically bet high on those guys. They're available to me mid to late day 3. I'll take a shot on the rare tools, but to take a guy early because without production, that's dicey in my opinion. That's just dicey. If you want a deep sleeper, a guy that could maybe get drafted, I have as like my top priority free agent among this edge class. It's Garmin Randolph out of Baylor. I really love this dude's tape. He's been basically a tweener for Baylor for, golly, since 2019. But he's a good mover, good burst, active hands, very good block shedder. Has experience dropping into coverage. It's just the play strength is like, occasionally plays with high pads. His production definitely ran hot and cold, but a guy that I really, really liked at Baylor. If honestly, if I'm like late day 3 and it's like, well, I wanted to come away with an edge, he'd be a guy I gave a shot. He really would. Again, there's a lot of players people love in this class. There's Baron Sorrell out of Texas, or Sorrell, Ja Joyner out of Minnesota, Ahmed Hassanine out of Boise State, RJ Oben, Notre Dame, Jasheed Davis out of Wake Forest. I still believe Colin Oliver, if you think he's an edge, could be an off-ball linebacker out of Oklahoma State. There's a lot of good players. I do want to give a shout out to 2 guys that I'm going to watch prior to the draft, but I didn't get to. And I feel like there's enough steam that they could be drafted. So I felt like I should watch them. And it's Ethan Downs out of Oklahoma and Elijah Ponder out of Cal Poly. So those guys, I'm hoping to get to by the end of the process. But that's it for the video. Finally, golly, talked a lot of edge rushers. But let me know what you think. Let me know some of your favorite edge players in this class. And as always, hit that thumbs up. Come on, baby. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.